Now, Garland, like many DOJ leaders, does not say much more than he has to. That's often the case with his spokespersons at DOJ as well, which makes for a potentially interesting interview right now because Anthony Coley just recently left his post as senior advisor to Attorney General Garland and public affairs director for DOJ. You might see him there in that photo. And this is his beat debut. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We've talked sometimes, but not on television, so I'm glad to have you.
We have talked sometimes, and I will not say they were arguments, but they were animated.
Animated. We'll take animated.
Yeah.
That sounds like one of those, what's that word? A euphemism. But appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
We'll get to the hearing. Yep. One of the things that was brought up there, but I want to start, as we try to do around here, with the alleged facts, is the Washington Post report here. Yeah. Pushed back by the FBI, allegedly, on the road to the Mar-a-Lago raid. FBI officials, the Post reports, who would be in charge of leading that search, resisted the plan. They thought it was, quote, too combative and proposed instead to seek Trump's permission to search his property. You deal with stories like this all the time. Number one, should it be concerning that the FBI seemed to be pushing back to try to help the person who might be, in this case, lawfully searched? And two, you see a headline like this, is this story mostly right, or does it get it wrong in your view?
So thank you for this. I want to be careful on this one particular story because I was at DOJ at the time, and I'm familiar with some of the purported facts in the story. What I will say, generally speaking, is that there are often candid conversations that investigators and prosecutors have in the course of any investigation. The important thing is that the way forward for any case is to make sure that that case is treated the same way that similar prior cases have been treated.
Well, let's get into that because I think it is, based on the reporting, true that the search ultimately went forward. Magistrate judge approved it. I think people have heard about that. But also, again, reading from the same report, agents at the FBI, quote, were afraid that taking aggressive steps investigating Trump could blemish or end their careers. Now, just straight talk, without you revealing any secrets, you read that and you think, well, I guess it works. I guess Donald Trump scares people in government, and it works.
So two things. Under Merrick Garland, and I have seen him do this countless times behind the scenes, he pursues justice without fear or favor. And he's going to continue to do that based on my knowledge of him and the people that he has around him.
Are people in the FBI afraid of Trump?
I will say very broadly, again, I don't want to talk about an ongoing investigation, but I will say when I was at the Justice Department, there were a number of stories like this that would pop early in the morning. And I will say broadly, some of those stories, and this goes to your earlier question, some of those stories were broadly right that had some minimal inaccuracies. And some of those stories were broadly wrong and had some minimal things that were right. This was a part of my frustration, if you will, in working at the Justice Department, because there were certain times when we actually could correct a record. I remember in the first week of August, there was a news report that said that Merrick Garland did not know about the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. That, of course, was wrong. The Attorney General himself said that some days after the search. And, you know, the Washington Post in its story today actually confirms that. But then there were a number of other times when, for a variety of reasons, grand jury rules in particular, where I could not engage on stories. And I'll give you an example. So if an MSNBC reporter came into my office and said, Coley, I am prepared to report the following. It's concerning a grand jury. I had to stop them there.
Right, you can't even get into it.
And you know this as a lawyer, we can't even confirm the existence of a grand jury.
Well, let's go to
this is the issue that we have, though. There is a delta, there is a gap between what the Justice Department is doing and what the public thinks it's doing.
No, I think that's fair. And I think for those of us who care about this, I know our viewers care, we care here in the newsroom, keeping in mind that, yeah, there may be a lot that's submerged underwater and for good reason. I mean, the whole country saw the grand juror speak out in Georgia, totally different jurisdiction. Right. But people go, getting a lot of extra information in real time might not even be the right alternative.
Right.
Let's go to today's hearing.
Yeah, great.
Have you heard of Lollapalooza?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Some people look at Garland DOJ and they're like, it's special counsel palooza. It's like, you want one, you get one. Serious issues, but I say that with some fun. But Senator Durbin, who's not a big Garland critic, he's Democratic chair of the committee, but he asked about a little bit of that. Let's look at that exchange.
You have authorized special counsel to investigate the classified materials, both at President Biden's home as well as former President Trump's home. Could you explain why you did that?
With respect to President Trump, he had announced that he was a candidate for president, and President Biden had indicated that he would be a candidate. I thought that's an extraordinary circumstance.
Let's dig into this. Yeah. If that's the standard, then it could mean a lot of special counsels. How do you explain to the public why your former boss this administration uses more special counsels than in the past? And just to throw another at you, Mike Pence is very close to potentially running for president. He's on his media tours. We have a look at this. If you compare Trump and Biden here, they got special counsels. If Pence announces by that standard, then he's got to get one too, right?
So thank you for the opportunity to talk about this, because I think the main objective that Merrick Garland had going into this hearing is to communicate his unwavering commitment to do justice. And what do I mean by that, Ari? I mean doing the right thing, the right way, for the right reason over and over and over again. The other point that I want to make, and I get specifically to your point, is that you saw him today talk a lot about the rule of law. Mm-hmm. And that's important in dissecting your questions. For Merrick Garland, the rule of law is not some abstract set of jumble of words. It is the underpinning of our democracy, and it means at its core treating like cases alike.
So
you don't have one.
So does Pence get one?
Well, so number one, I'm not going to play this out on air, but it is important to note that Donald Trump has announced that he is running for president, mm-hmm. and Joe Biden has announced his intent to run for president. Mm-hmm. So I think the appointment of the special counsel, as the Attorney General said at the time, is that these are extraordinary circumstances. And a part of what he needs to do is not just do justice, but he has to appear to do justice. Well, and the people have to believe that he's doing justice.
Right. And I mean, we're talking about how to do it. I don't think there's been, I haven't seen a suggestion that he's trying to bury any evidence or anything like that. We're talking about, though, the fact that he's doing it a little different. The Pence example raises that, because you say, how many special counsels are there going to be? Since you're here, I want to give you the chance. You might be in your office. You might be watching and go, oh, there they go again. Well, now you're here. So I'm going to play, including some criticism of some of this, of your former boss, Attorney General Garland. Let's take a look.
Great.
I think the Department of Justice can do both of these investigations with the men and women who have worked there for years and with integrity.
I disagree pretty strongly with the decision by Attorney General Garland to seek a special counsel. I don't think it's needed under the regulations, and I think it risks delaying this investigation needlessly.
I have an idea. Merrick Garland should appoint a special prosecutor to become the Attorney General of the United States, because apparently Merrick Garland can't do the job. And that is not me saying it. That is Merrick Garland saying it.
You get the benefit of responding.
So thank you for the opportunity to do that. These are extraordinary circumstances and extraordinary times. And I think what we saw Merrick Garland do with the appointment of these special counsels is do justice, do things the right way. In his view, he believes that that there isn't an option. And this is just one of those matters where smart people are just going to have to disagree. And I respect all of the people that you just saw. But at the end of the day, doing justice is, in his view, doing the right thing, the right way, for the right reason.
No, and disagreement's part of the law.
That's exactly right.
Let me draw you to the Jan 6 probe, where the DOJ has had, and we've shown, aggressive cases, sedition convictions. There's that whole record. But then on the special counsel, which we just mentioned, on the actual now special counsel part, they seem behind the Congress. We could show you, for example, Mark Meadows. It was a year and 4 months after the House went to him that this DOJ apparently, reportedly, you can correct me if we're off, went to subpoena him. Jared and Ivanka, about 10 plus months after the House, we learned last week they're pursuing them. You were there. I don't think I'm asking for grand jury material. Have they been late at times?
All right, so this sounds like one of the private conversations that we had when I was at DOJ.
Well, let's make it public.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that the public does not know all of the things that the Justice Department is doing. That is appropriate. And that's how the process should work. What I can guarantee to the American people, and from what I saw as my 2 years at the Justice Department, is that this is a process that is filled with integrity. And that's what I think everyone should want.
And again, without releasing what's secret, if someone says, or we showed Ellie Mistal says, oh, they're punting, they're behind, they don't care, you say what to that?
So here's what my view is of Jack Smith. I think, according to the regs, he is not subject to the day-to-day supervision of any person at the Justice Department.